Ladies and gentlemen, everybody told me they really liked my video about the steering box replacement that I did recently, so I thought I'd film another one and show you how to straighten your steering wheel. So I just recently replaced the steering box on my truck, and now I've got to straighten the steering wheel. It's been like this before I replaced the steering box, so the box replacement didn't do it. It's an alignment issue. And so if you're driving down the road and you constantly have to keep the wheel slightly off center, I'm going to show you how to fix that the easy way and the right way, and I'm going to show you the way not to fix that. So I just wanted to show you whenever I'm driving how it looks when I'm going straight down the road. So this is a straightaway here. I'm going straight, and as you can see, I'm about, I would guess that's about 20 or 25 degrees off. Not major. Some people, their wheels, 90 degrees off. So it's not the end of the road, the end of the world. But it actually, if you're driving like this and you have to fight it the whole time, because of the way the gearbox is designed, this actually makes your steering worse while it's like this, and I'll tell you about that here in a minute. It's basically because the way the gear is made in the GM steering box. So this is a 1983 Silverado, but it'll be anything similar. If you've got this issue, I will show you in this video how to fix this, and by the end of the video we'll have it nice and straight. It's kind of the last thing that gets done when you do an alignment. Now, I've already had this truck aligned and it's still in alignment. If I let go of the wheel though, you see that my truck will start drifting to the left because the steering wheel is slightly correcting. So you're just slightly going to the left. Essentially, that's why I have to pull it to the right, because the wheels are facing to the left. So if I straighten up the steering wheel, I can't do it right now because I'll run into somebody. But if I straighten up the steering wheel, my wheels are actually pointing to the left, which is why when you're driving, to go straight, you have to pull to the right. So the thing to understand is, it's not really that your steering wheel is crooked. The steering wheel didn't move. It's bolted on and it's on a spline shaft, a keyed shaft. That didn't slip or anything, folks. The steering wheel is the way it always was. Now your alignment is out. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. And you might think, oh, I'm not going to mess with my alignment. I'll get it all screwed up and it'll eat up the tires and all that. That is correct if you mess with your alignment, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to adjust the centering of the alignment. And there's a way to do it without throwing your alignment out, and without having to go back and pay the alignment shop to do it. So you got to be careful. Now, I'm going to show you how I do it. But don't do it, because if I tell you to do it and then you go out there and you forget to tighten up a bolt and it kills you, I don't want to be held responsible. But I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it, and hopefully you won't follow my example and do this for free. All right, folks, I'm going to show you on paper. Now, I have great artistic skills, obviously, here. I'm going to show you on paper the theory of how you fix it, right? So you can skip to the end of the video and just watch how I do it. But if you watch this part, you'll understand what I'm going to do, and you won't even have to watch the end of the video because you'll get the point, okay? So whenever you get your car aligned, you want the wheels straight. You want everything straight so that it rolls down the street straight, and that way it doesn't tear up your tires. That's mainly why people get it done, and it makes it drive better too, right? So whenever you take it to the alignment shop, they set all that up. And the way they do that is they adjust the distance between the wheels. So there is a measurement that you want from here to here. Let's say it's 6 feet or something. That's not the measurement, but let's just say that. Let's say it's 6 feet from wheel to wheel. They adjust the suspension, the steering, so that it's exactly that, because there are adjustments on it so that you can move things. And they have a bunch of different adjustments they do, where they want the wheel straight up and down, or they may want it kicked in a little bit, and there's caster and camber. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on that. I'm obviously not, right? So if your vehicle needs a line, take it to an alignment shop, have the experts do it. I'm just showing you how to adjust the steering wheel because it won't mess that up, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Now, if you have a Blazer or something that's a 4x4, there's a really easy adjustment just down on the gearbox. The pitman arm has a drag link attached to it with an adjustment sleeve. And so on a 4x4, there's one adjustment sleeve you can change. It doesn't affect the alignment at all, really, and it'll straighten your steering wheel out. So that's completely different than these. This is a Silverado, okay? So here's what you have to understand to get how we're going to fix it. When I'm driving down the street, what's really going on is my wheels are pointed to the left. That's why, so when the steering wheel's straight, the wheels are pointed to the left. That's why I'm pulling it to the right. I'm pulling the wheel to the right because I'm pulling the wheels back to the right. So the steering wheel is not actually crooked. The wheels are crooked. Okay? So that's a good thing because there's only one place you can make an adjustment, really, and that's at the tie rod ends. Now, if you adjust the tie rod ends and you don't watch what you're doing, you're going to get everything out of alignment. And not only will it eat up tires, but it'll make the thing drive dangerously. It'll make it where it goes all over the road whenever you hit the brakes and everything else. So you really got to be careful about this. But the secret to it is, as long as you don't change that distance that's been set up by your alignment shop, everything's cool, okay? Now, don't do this if you don't understand it. If you think you're going to screw it up, you know, it's the steering too. So, I mean, if you screw it up and you don't tighten up a bolt or something, it could be bad. But let's say this is 6 feet. It's not, making up that number. As long as this stays 6 feet, that part of your alignment is still in alignment, right? So since these wheels are to the left and I have to turn the wheel to straighten them back up, I need to make it so that I don't have to turn the wheel to straighten them up. So why is it like it is, okay? Let me tell you what you can't do to fix it. You can't take the wheel off and move the wheel. You might think you can do that, but if you try it, you'll see that you can't do that. Because on anything newer than, I think it's 1973, any of the Silverados newer than 73, the wheel's keyed, so it'll only go on one way. So if you try to move it, you're going to screw up all kinds of things. Even if you do get it on, the canceling cam won't work right on the turn signal and all of that. And folks, keep in mind, your wheel didn't move. I mean, nobody took it off and put it on wrong. If they did, fix that. Yeah, but that's not what happened. So that's not how you fix it. So don't try to remove your steering wheel. And plus, that would be a lot more work than you need to do. Okay? So that's not going to work. The other place that you can't adjust it is at the rag joint. So people think that you can adjust it at the rag joint, but the rag joint is keyed. It will only go on the gearbox one way. So because of that, you can't move it and put it back on. So if you could just take it loose, turn it, and put it back, and that would straighten up the wheel. But that don't work because it's keyed. Let me show you a rag joint just so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is a new rag joint. See how it's got that flat spot right there? So because of that, you can only put it on the shaft of the gearbox one way. If I were to turn it, now the flat spot on the shaft doesn't line up, it won't go on. And think about if that wasn't on there. If it was real easy to turn this, that's the only thing keeping you connected to the gearbox. I mean, the wheels could just do whatever. Very, very dangerous. Imagine that happening when you're driving down the interstate at 85 miles an hour. Okay? So you can't adjust it there. So you can't adjust the steering wheel. It's keyed. You can't adjust that. It's also keyed. The only place that there's an adjustment, you can't adjust the pitman arm. If you watch the video I did where I changed the gearbox, the pitman arm is keyed as well. You can adjust it, but it's a quarter turn. I mean, you can't make any fine adjustment or anything. And you don't want to. You want to adjust what's messed up. What's not adjusted right is your tie rod ends. So, and again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just trying to show you so you understand the theory and then you can do it yourself. In my great drawing here, I mean, now, I know this is award-winning, you know, so you don't have to leave me comments about it. But so your suspension is, you got a steering wheel, you got the steering column, you got the rack joint, you got the gearbox, and then you have what's called the pitman arm that attaches to the bottom of the gearbox, and it's just a big arm that goes over and grabs your center link, which is just a metal bar basically. And then the center link is attached to the tie rod ends and the adjusting sleeves, and the other end of the tie rod end is attached to your tire, your rim, your wheel. I guess that's called the hub. But on this side, so then the cross link, the center link goes across, and this is called the idler arm. This just attaches to your frame and is just a pivot to hold it steady, right? And then on this side, you have another set of tie rod ends that attaches to this wheel, okay? And so the reason that you have the center link is so that whenever you turn, you move this tire and it's attached to this tire, so they both turn at exactly the same spot, and you keep your 6 feet or whatever distance. So if they're turned, you're still at 6 feet or whatever it is, right? And if I was to turn that way, if you turn the steering wheel, it just all turns, right? And so the pitman arm is what's moving it on the bottom of the gearbox. It's moving it that way or that way. And this idler arm is just holding it against the frame just to keep it all rigid and up where it goes, right? So luckily, these tie rod ends you can adjust. This is the only place you really have an adjustment. There is an adjustment sleeve. So the tie rod ends look something like this. Look at this. Oh man, I'm taking it to the next level now. So there is a tie rod. It is literally like a big bolt with a 45-degree thing, and there's a ball joint in here and all this. Now, again, people, I am not a mechanic. I'm not trying to say I'm a mechanic. I'm just trying to explain the theory to you, right? And how you can straighten up your steering wheel. So there's a tie rod in here, and there's a tie rod in here. When you take it to the shop, when you take it to the shop and they adjust it, the professionals, not some hack like me, the professionals, they turn this adjusting sleeve. So on these Silverados, there's a 1/2-inch bolt here and a 1/2-inch bolt here. Okay, so you have a tie rod end with a threaded bolt, and then another tie rod end with a threaded bolt that's backwards. This adjustment sleeve is threaded inside. You take you'll see it here in a minute. We're going to do it. You take this bolt loose, and you take this bolt loose, and it makes it where this is loose, but it's just barely loose. I mean, you can turn it by hand if you really get on it, but it's not going to fall off or anything. And this bolt goes up in there, depending on how it's installed, you know, maybe that far. Okay. So this sleeve, if you turn it this way, it eats up some of the thread. So if you turn it, you can see that the thread would disappear inside of it, right? So if we're looking like at the front of the truck on the driver's side, if I were to turn this the top towards me, I would make more thread disappear. Well, if you can see how it would like rise up the thread, right? Well, if I made more thread disappear, what would happen? Well, I would be pushing the bolt in. It would make this whole thing shorter, okay? So if you turn it the other way, you make it longer, and the threads are backwards on each set. So this is the driver's side wheel. This is the center link here, right? So this little part's adjustable by just adjusting this. If you turn it one way, you make this distance longer. You turn another way, you make this distance shorter. Well, damn, that screws up our alignment because we got to keep our 6 feet in our imaginary 6 foot wide car. We got to keep our exact 6 feet so that the alignment is perfectly straight. Because man, if you're off just a little bit, it'll eat your tires up, doesn't drive right. So that screws us up if we adjust that, right? Well, it does temporarily. Our problem is, since this is a fixed point, right? So like the gearbox is where it is, and this pitman arm is where it is. Our problem is, on a Silverado, here's the center line of the rims. On mine, an 83 Silverado, the tie rod ends are at the front of the tire. Okay? So our problem is, if you think about it, if our wheels are too far to the left, what's going on is this distance is too long, on this side, and this distance is too short on this side. So that's why I have to turn the wheel to straighten the wheels back out. Okay, so if I go in and I turn this one, so this distance is too long. You see that? From there to there is too long. That's why the tire is like that. If I turn this to make this shorter, it will pull that tire back in. Right? But that screws up our 6 feet. So what you have to do is you add the, so like if you do a turn, so maybe we bring this in one turn to straighten up the wheel, you have to add it over here. So you take this one out one turn to straighten up the wheel. And then if you do it exactly the same, one turn here and one turn here, the distance is still exactly the same. So you didn't really change your alignment. You changed your alignment, but you didn't change the distance of the alignment. And there's other things they align, so that's not the only thing that they mess with. But so here's how we fix the steering wheel. If we're turning, if the wheels are pointed to the left, then you need to think about how your wheel is. Are the wheels to the left? Put your steering wheel centered and just see, are the wheels to the left or are they to the right? Right? Well, so if they were to the right, well then that would mean that this tie rod end over here is too long and it's pushing the front of the tire too far that way. Right? So you would do the opposite. Now, on the driver's side, if I turn this way and it eats up the things, it makes this shorter. Well, if you go over to the passenger side, they're backwards because it's on the other side of the car. So one set's like this and the other set's like that. See how my hand's backwards? So I'm like that or I'm like that. Okay, well if I turn this like that, I get my palm down. All right. If I turn this the same way, I get my palm up. See what I'm saying? So you want to turn these the exact same way. So if you turn the driver's side towards the front of the top, towards the front of the vehicle, you want to slide over the passenger side and turn that one towards the front of the vehicle. And since they're on opposite sides, you will be shortening this one and lengthening that one. So that's all we're going to do. We're just going to turn that. And I'm going to guess about 1 revolution because mine's off about 20 to 25 degrees, something like that. So I'm going to, since this distance from here to here is too long and making the tire crooked when the wheel is straight, to get it where my wheel is straight and the wheels are straight on the rubber is straight, I'm going to make this shorter and then I'm going to make this longer by the exact same amount. So I'm going to do 1 turn exactly. You don't want to do 3/4 of a turn. You want to do a whole turn because if you, it's fine if you do 3/4 of a turn because as long as you do both the same. I'm just saying you don't want to do this one 1 turn and that one 3/4 of a turn. That will screw you all up. Don't do it. You shouldn't be doing this anyways. I already told you not to do it, right? Don't listen to me, but watch me. I'm going to do it and then we'll see how it works out. So as long as you keep this distance the same, it will not screw up your alignment, and you can literally move your steering wheel by adjusting, taking a little from here and putting it over here. Rob Peter to pay Paul. Right? So all I have to do is go out to the truck, take these bolts loose on the adjustment sleeves, turn this one half a turn and then the other one half a turn, or turn this one a full turn and the other one a full turn. As long as you keep it the same, it never gets out of adjustment. But make sure that you figure out which way to go. Like, you know, if that's the end of it, if you think about it, if you turn that top this way, it's going to ride up the, because these don't turn, they're bolted in place. It's going to ride up the threads and make it shorter. If you were to turn it backwards, it would expose more thread as it went, which would mean that it's making it longer. Okay, so we're going to go test that. We're going to go test that out and see if I can straighten out my steering wheel a little bit. So this is my driver's side tire. Here's what we're talking about: tie rod in, adjusting link. If you loosen these 2 screws, you can turn this. So I'm going to turn it 1 revolution. Now, if you look really close at the threads, since I need to bring it in, I need to turn it towards the front. You can tell by looking at the threads that if I bring it towards the top, towards the front, I will be eating up more of my threads, which means I'm making it shorter. And it's set up so that as you turn it, they both come in, right? So we're going to do that, and then make the other one longer. So let me loosen it up and turn it, and then I'll show you the other side. Okay, folks, so I moved it. So here is my passenger side one. I'm trying to get it where you can see the threads. Basically, it's in a lot farther. But see how if I move it towards the front exactly like I did the other one, if I move the top towards the front, it's going to actually make this side longer where it made the other side shorter. So you're moving them in the same exact direction. They're reversed because of the way they're mounted on the vehicle. One set goes one way, one set goes the other way. So if you move them the same way, you're actually moving them backwards. So as long as you move them the exact same amount, you'll be fine. Now you want to make sure that you don't just move the brackets that hold the bolt. You're trying to move the entire adjuster so that when I spin it around one whole revolution, I should have that crack in the sleeve lined up pretty much exactly where it is now. If it's just slightly off, it's not that big of a deal, but you want to try to get it as close as possible. So let me adjust this one, and then I'll take it for a test drive and see how it does. I adjusted the other one, tightened up both of the bolts, make sure to tighten them back up, and we'll see what it does. Okay, you see how I have an extra thread out now? And there'll be one like it on the other side of this, on the inner tie rod there. So basically I've made this one slightly longer, the other one slightly shorter. One turn on each side, exactly one turn. So my length between tires is still exactly the same, we're still aligned. It's just I moved the center, so it should straighten up the wheel. All right, folks, I'm test driving it the next day. Remember, we turned it a full turn, and I am slightly to the left now, okay? So it looks like a turn turns you about 30 degrees, I think. So I could go back in and correct it a little bit, but it's so close, I don't think I'm gonna mess with it. I'm maybe 5 degrees to the left now when I drive straight, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But I hope that helps you out. There's a lot of people online saying to move your steering wheel, to you know, screw with your rag joint, to move the pitman arm. You can't do any of that on this particular vehicle because it's all keyed. So look, I'm headed into South Carolina. You can't do any of that because it's all keyed. So the proper place to adjust it is at the tie rod ends. Just be careful. Now, if I was to go back in and touch this up a little bit to try to make it a little bit better, you would be tempted to just turn one of them. But if you only turn one, you're going to completely screw your alignment up. Don't do that. You got to turn both. So if you're trying to make just a little minor tweak, it's hard to do because you have to kind of split it in half, basically. So I hope that helps you. I'm trying to watch the road here. You know, you're not supposed to do this. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Come on, brother. Why are you doing me like that? Come on, man. So if this helped you at all, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. And by the way, people, this is free advice. Do this at your own risk. But if it does help you, you know what you can do to help me? There's a link to Amazon down below. If you click that link and buy anything on Amazon, after you click that link, it gives me a little tip. It gives me, I think, 2-3% of whatever you buy. So I appreciate everybody doing that. But if not, that's fine too. Just leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Tell me what I did wrong. I'm sure everybody's got plenty of reasons that I don't know what I'm talking about. But you see me driving down the road and it fixed it. So I hope that stands for something. So hope you enjoyed the video. And I will see you on the next one. Hopefully this will help you get your vehicle running just a little bit better.